All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're absolutely fantastic. Today, I've got a new friend that I've literally met about 30 minutes ago.
Literally, less.
Yeah, and he came and had a look at what I was busy with and asked some fantastic questions. So I decided to maybe start the stream and have those questions answered, so that those who may have similar questions can get a better understanding of what is going on behind the scenes and what we are trying to achieve here. So before we get into that, what I would like to do is just go through the market update, just to make sure that we are up to speed with where we're going. All right, so whilst I do that, I suppose I want to explain to Andre as well about what we're doing here, so that he has better insight, because he's got friends with hedge funds and coding experience in the past who've also have tried to get technology to support their trading ideas. And so he's not completely new to it, but he may be new to what we've been up to. All right, so Andre, this is the software I had designed, I think, about 2 years ago. And this was to replace the dinosaur TradingView. So something like TradingView is the number one platform in the world, but when you are appealing to everyone, it's very difficult to work with the generalist setup, because there's a lot of customizations that are missing, a lot of manual input that needs to go in. So one of my students from Europe in about 2021 said to me, I hear you complaining about this TradingView thing. Let's rather build our own. So I laughed it off at first and I said, yeah, sure, why not? And he was a bit serious. So I didn't have the coding capacity back then because ChatGPT and such wasn't available. And I really have needed that to fast track the learning process. It's because the manuals and that kind of stuff, no one wants to go through the textbooks, and those. It's like 5 to 7 years just to get to like a junior position, to internship, and it's just awful. So thank goodness for the likes of ChatGPT, going through all of that stuff, being able to customize it. And I've just, by the way, I've said ciao to ChatGPT of late, because Grok is like running circles.
I've heard this.
It's running circles around ChatGPT. ChatGPT is like fumbling the ball at the try line. And Grok is just like, sit down, get onto the stands, I've got this. So yeah, so that's definitely a leap in the right direction. All right, so what we're looking at over here is multiple time frames. The reason why we've got these is because there are different fragments of a single market that coexist together. If you look at the time frames up top here, we've got 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 8 minutes, 32, 128, 512, and 2048. The pattern there is that it builds by 4. Okay, so the magic number 4 is what brings us all together. Said differently, market cycles are one of the most important things when it comes to trading. And the cleanest market cycle, maybe I should start on the cleanest market cycle, is the 32 minutes. And I'll explain as to why in a sec. All right, so yeah.
It's one of those days, man.
No, dude, it's funny because now that I'm a coder, I get to see what the mistakes can be with other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And I've since kind of let go of this, because I've been pursuing the automation of trading, and by letting go of this, my level of pedanticness isn't there, and I can see there's some room for improvement in some regards. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So market cycles happen for the cleanest cycle available on a week-to-week basis. So said differently, over here, if you look at the time, it's Monday morning until Monday morning. So basically Sunday midnight until Sunday midnight is the cleanest cycle you can get. The reason that is because if you consider a person's daily routine of waking up, going to brush your teeth, eat breakfast, sit in traffic, get to work, have lunch, get back again, sit on social media for a while, eat dinner, go to sleep, that cycle is unique to that kind of collective agreement of what a typical day looks like, but in different time zones. So if you got Australia going through that kind of typical thing, and then going across to like maybe India, and then going across to Germany, and then going across to different places, like it's starting to kick off at different times. So to smooth that out, the sequence of events, the cleanest cycle is to average that out over a week. And over a week, you've got something that has transpired many, many times. And through understanding and seeing that sort of thing happen, I was looking for why it was there. And what I'm talking about is the highs and the lows that happen within the cycle. And we work on a 10-based number system. So we count up in 10, we round off to 10, and we divide by 10. It's basically, it's 0 to 9 or 1 to 10, depending on how you look at it. So within a market cycle, you get 5 highs and 5 lows sequentially.
Right, there's crests and dips, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you start there, shall I go back? So that ends over there. So sometimes it can get tricky when it bleeds over, and that's why the 32 minutes is so important, is because we always have like this reference point for clean, because it's convenient to kind of put a high there, but because of the way that it's structured, I know that they'll be further back. So in the 10-point system, we'll start over here with the first high, then the second, so it's sequential, then the third, and then the fourth. And so what will happen now is that there is tools that all of a sudden pop up. And this is because...
This is your creation, right? That.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So if you look at where the cube root of 28 is over there, that's where the next high forms. So in other words, I've got this checklist system that traders should go through. So it considers all the different elements. So the first 4 are the market structure, then it's the time forecast, then it's the oscillator, then it's price, and then support and resistance. So over here it's got M for market structure, T for time forecasting, O for oscillator, P for price forecasting, and then support and resistance, which is the support and resistance levels. You'll learn that that's totally different to what everyone else has been using. So this is where I got my name. My company name is MTOPS. So MTOPS, MTOPS.
Ah, sick.
So yeah, so and it's just to check those 5 major elements of the market in each time. So let's start from the top. So market structure, as I may mention to, coding, dude. Okay, what's happening, dude? Yeah.
Tesseract's a cool name.
Yeah, the guy from Europe chose it. I don't know what's happening there. Come on, man.
Maybe while we wait. Oh no, wait, there it is.
Go on.
There it is, you got it.
Yeah, so this is all I can show you, I guess, before it bombs out. So in terms of the checklist, so yeah, you would be able to zoom out, and in relevance to the cycle as a whole, this high over here typically happens in the middle. So that's the end of the middle cycle. So it's halfway point. So it's pretty on point and on character as to where that is. And that's the thing, is like analyzing cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle. There's just the sequence that kept on showing up. And then so through that, the future of price action is predictable just because of the repetition. Pardon me. All right. So I won't get too heavily into it, but that's where it should be forming. So that's the first thing that I look at. Then the next thing is time forecast. So over here, I've got something called the cube root that I created. And what that basically does is it takes where the previous points have been and then gives us options of where it's going to be next. So 28 is one of those options, and that's exactly where it landed up next. So pretty cool stuff. And then from the oscillator aspect, there's the switch on the oscillator above, which I've done customizations to as well. And that's, yeah, so that's now the second confirmation. Then there's also, just for extra confirmation, not that I use it as much, but on the sine wave, there's the dip over there. So that's now 3 confirmations that that's the case. Yeah. And then, so it's not just like thumb suck or whatever the case to be. It's bankable.
So like corroborating indicators.
Yeah, and they work together.
Yeah.
So it's not one isolation. Like a lot of traders will just like will get overly excited about the oscillator switching, and they think that's a trading strategy. It's the lagged indicator. It tells you what has been, doesn't tell you the future of stuff. So just by relying on the one element, it's not enough. It's about having the sequence of it, and then in that sequence, so MTOPS. And then the price forecast, again, it's not haphazard that it stopped there. So if you look at this threshold over here, there is I think I can double it up. I'm not sure if it's double arcs. Yeah, so this threshold where there's where these arcs are is where it stopped. So that'll be threshold 3. So not coincidence. And then support and resistance, it's traveled up the support line. Well, it actually traveled up that support line, got resisted, got back into form, traveled up the support line, got resisted, and then changed direction. So no coincidence that it stopped there. And I was been able to do this turning point after turning point, time frame after time frame, market after market. The thing about it being sequential and not geometrics, said differently, fixed geometric shapes break. Something called the law of alternation, which happens in the universe, it breaks repetition. Sequence happens, like we'll have 4 seasons in the year, but this autumn compared to last autumn is never the same.
I get you.
Yeah.
It's like either a bit slower or like different temperatures, different time frames, but
everything.
same sort of sequence, let's say.
In the same sequence. It
Yeah.
occurs a roundabout, but the way in which it does is not identical. So this is what the strategy works on. It works on the laws of the universe, the rules of what is, and then applies it into trading conditions, which is quite nice because you can, it's the energy of everything, but in a 2D format. And once you flatten those rules and you see the sequences play out time and time and time again, it just becomes like, oh my gosh, like we're working with divinity instead of just like random chaos.
Yeah, I see.
So that's like cool. Anyway, so I took this and then I pushed it into something else, which I'm jumping the gun. So that's kind of the essence of the strategy at a very quick explanation styled format. Let me just kind of get rid of some of this. And then what I do next is just get a general indication of which way the trend wants to flow next. So just by this alone, it looks like it wants to go up. But again, because it's connected by these quadrants, so this is quadrant 4, which takes us to the end of the cycle. I don't want to play with the zooming too much because it might just get faulty as it did earlier. This is quadrant 3, and then there's quadrant 2 and quadrant 1. So we've got 4 quadrants per cycle, and the length of one quadrant will be the length of the time frame below. So what we're seeing here is zoomed in on if we drop down by 4. So we go down to the 8 minutes. That cycle is now more articulated down here. So the benefit of that is the way my strategy works is that it works in the exact same way across all time frames, across all markets. So this is how I can get right down to the 30-second comfortably and also rely on it all the way up to the 2048. It's sequence-based and it's also modularized or fractaled down to different time zones. So from the lower time zones, you can see the preview of what's coming in terms of the next moves. And then from the higher time zones, you get to see what the dominant trend direction is trying to achieve from an overall like magnetic pull. So you get the micro and you get the macro. So in this 8 minutes, it's the exact same thing. So that'll be the first turning point of it, second, third, fourth, and it's building into the fifth over here somewhere. And again, same structure. So there's quadrant 1, quadrant 2, 3, and 4. Here's your overall cycle, start to finish. And then your 5 highs and 5 lows building up. And because we've got the sequence of the first 4 moves, so it requires same side tools to forecast what happens next. We now see our options. So if we kind of take away what it's not going to be, I'm going to take away, oh man. Okay, sorry, it's just some bugs in the system there. All right, so where price has already been is where the next high is not going to form, so I can cancel that. Where price is already formed from a y-axis, so x and y-axis, is where it's not going to go to next. And then from a support and resistance perspective, I've basically got that support line, not really much here. So that kind of pizza slice, but it's not going to be behind what's already happened. So all what is left is either there or there. And of those 2 options, I mean, some guys have like this whole white open space of what's going to happen next. Is it up? Is it down? Is it going to be flat? Is it going to dump? Is it going to pump? What should I do? They've got all those concerns. Our concerns is it here or is it there? All markets, all time frames. And to refine this, what I then need to do is just simply put something called a protractor down. It's a bit light here. Let me try and get rid of some stuff. Not easily seen because it's kind of layering on top of each other. But there's the support and resistance build up prior to where we're going. So there's the way it's interacting with that threshold in reverse as it is going forward. But this is what's going to give us where we're going next, is where it's come from, because of, like, if you think of sonars, like dropping like a pebble into a pond, like how it makes its waves. This is like the middle of where the pebble is dropped.
Right.
So that's where price is going to turn. So it's either at that kind of pebble spot or that one. And it looks like it's going to be this one because of how well it's interacted, how well the waves have been forming the lead up to this next high.
Right.
So that's the strategy in a nutshell. Of course, there's more to it and caveats. And
it's a very tiny nutshell.
Very, yeah. It's the packet of nuts that you get when you're in aircraft, or you used to at least. Yeah. And what I do now is I go through all the different time frames to ascertain what is happening overall. And then I'll take that information into my 30-second chart where the moves are more granular. it's what's going to happen in the next hour versus over here, like what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. But again, this gives us the overall direction. So most traders can't even get profitable because I don't know if it's going to go up next or going to go down next. So not only can we say where it's going to go next, like up, down, or whatever, here it's down, we're able to fragment that to what's going to happen in the next few days, the next few hours, and then eventually the next tens of minutes, as you'll see just now. I see sometimes my hands do the Donald Trump thing. I need to maybe work on that.
That's all right.
Yeah. All right. So the 2048 dominant trend direction, it gives us months in advance. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to get, or the next 8 days rather, we're going to get a Bitcoin. And check this out a week from now. It's accurate time and time and time again. Go for it. Yeah. So 99,000 this time next Friday.
99,000 this time next Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to find my notes. All right. And that is BTC.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. In a week from now.
Yeah.
So the 8th, I think, right? Okay. I'm going to check it out.
Do it,
I'm going to check it out, yeah.
Yeah, be surprised, be bewildered.
Which is how much less than it is now?
5K, I think. Yeah.
Would you say that's like a substantial amount, or?
It's all relative. So you can have.
I suppose it is relative.
Yeah. So like something like the Dow Jones, I don't know the exact price, I haven't checked, but let's say it's at 5,000. For it to get to 5,500 is 10% move. So it's like $500. A lot of people are waiting for that 10% move. Whereas Bitcoin, because it's relative, is going to move in percentiles as well. So 5,000 to Bitcoin isn't the same as 5,000 to the Dow Jones.
Of course.
So it's all relative to size of position. So if, for example, someone gets into Bitcoin at $100,000, when Bitcoin's price is $100,000, and they got $10,000, for them to make $500, it's got to go up $5,000 to get there. And that's why the system that I'm using uses leverage. So leverage is using multipliers of kind of borrowed money to amplify it up. And hence the working with the 30-second chart is that I don't have to have my own capital tied up to this potentiality of it working out or not working out. I'm using OPM, so it's other people's money, and then they assume the risk if things go wrong, so they'll deal with the liquidation limits. And then from my side, not where if it's when I bring in the profit, we do a profit share.
I like it.
Yeah. So, and it's pretty cool because a lot of traders don't know that you can leverage large accounts by just having a small amount of money up front, and done so in a responsible way. Actually, they very strictly enforce that it's done in a responsible way.
Yeah, because it's easy to just kind of like
bomb it.
You out, like you out, like very badly.
Guys, I've had guys call me from Singapore, all different places, dude, all different times of the day, crying. They're like, dude, I've overextended. My wife's going to leave me if this doesn't work out. No one knows what I've done here. I won't ever mention names. I had a guy from the States, and very reputable parts of the States. He had a company, and he took the accessible capital available in the company, put that into the market. Now he's a shareholder, not the owner. And he thought he would just do a quick flip. That dropped by $30,000. And it was a 5-figure amount. And then that dropped that and then got down to 75%. And he's like, how do I make this back? So he was like panicking, like his whole house and like his job, everything was on the line. So guys, they don't see the value of doing the right thing.
Yeah, but it's like very alluring, I imagine, to kind of just like, because you kind of think that this is going to happen, and then you start thinking of all the potential, like I'm just going to make so much money that quickly. And I guess it happens sometimes, but to me, that's definitely not worth the potential to just be like screwed forever almost.
Well, guys get there.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I mean, like when you see the liquidation, there's the Twitter account I used to follow. It's like it speaks about liquidation, and dude, like every day it's between $1 billion and $1 trillion. Every day. Yeah, because it goes across the different. There's like someone did like a API and it plugs into Binance and like it calculates all the things, bro. Like one major move down unexpectedly, just there's hundreds of millions just get liquidated.
Wow.
Into thin air. Bump. Thanks for gone. So my first question is, who are these people? Like, and then secondly, how do you bounce back from when it's gone to nothing? So that's why in my system, I'll maybe just jump ahead. I've got these little buttons at the bottom here, which set up on the back end the position size, stop loss every single time, not sometimes, every single time. And then it's got a smart in, a smart entry, and a smart exit. So, for example, over here, let me try get that bigger. The right place to get, there's right and the wrong place to get in over here. So even if we got the forecast right, if the position is open up top here and it's closed down there, loss. So if we open up here and then we close like over there, then it's like pointless even opening a trade. It's like a couple of $100s profit. So I've got not only the forecast of the future of the next hour ahead, but you can see that's where the little peak was, boop, and now it's doing that.
It's going down.
Yeah, as suggested. So not only is this telling us what's happening in the near future, an hour ahead of time, it's got a intelligent opening instruction so that it avoids all of that, opens up in this segment, and because you can see it's a grid. So open up in that block, and then it'll look at where the direction of where this should go to next. So it's obviously going up, and then it's got its option to either close in that block, close in any other block, or close in that block. But because that's the highest value of the same direction, it'll wait until then to close.
Okay.
Which alleviates all of what we just said. So it's the pain of opening up the position, wondering if it's in the right direction, watching price kind of interact as well,
like that tension.
Like an hour is a long time to be disciplined for. Like it's,
oh shit, especially with money like this, you know.
Yeah, and it's leveraged as well. So it's hundreds. Like it's not moving like $1 at a time. It's like hundreds of dollars, and whatever. And you're sitting there, it's like quiet and it's quiet and it's quiet and. You go to the toilet, you come back, it's like, oh no, it's going the wrong direction.
Yeah, hectic.
So it's like this emotional break. So, so in the back end, I've got a whole system set up so that's just one-click convenience. We choose which model is, right now, Model 2 is really like dominating in terms of accuracy. Yesterday was a great day. Let's try to get Telegram over to the screen. So Model 2 that's labeled over there was in performance, and that's all profit. All the blue is profit. Bang, 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 bang. The minus at the bottom is because the day before I was mainly leaning into Model 3 and wasn't really as good. So Model 2 is just delivering bang, 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 bang. So that's in dollars, and that works out to be $1,500 for a day. So
hectic.
Most people can live on $1,500
most
a day.
people, like all people, should be able to.
If you're unable to live on $1,500 a day,
it's not the amount that's the problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I need to cancel your cartel connections. So yeah, bro. So that's what's happening. So I'm going to get into the kind of overall direction of what the market wants to do. So on the top frame, it's going to go down. But now what I'm looking out for here is just to make sure that everything is agreeing that it's going to go down, so that we don't necessarily have conflict, because when there's a conflict of energy, then it really becomes choppy. And
it's like a ripple in a ripple kind of, so like
totally.
Anything can almost happen sort of, or like you're going to get sideways movement sort of.
No surfer likes choppy conditions. This is clean waves, and once you it's worth not even getting into the surf and just letting the blue bottles and jellyfish do their thing, and then wait for a cleaner day and then get in. So it's the exact same thing with trading. It's just like
good metaphor.
Thanks, right?
Yeah.
So as it decreases over here, I look for, the biggest tell for me just from naked first glance is that that's open. So I'm just not going to get too carried away. And just, I don't need to like micromanage. It's just in general direction is down, and I'm good with that. And then one last check. I'm not going to do all of them because I don't need to, because I'm working with a 30-second chart, and that's pretty robust. And again, I think the concern that I would raise an eyebrow to is that the oscillator here is looking to switch to a close. So, and this has already gone quite far down. And in terms of where we are in relation to the cycle, it's quite late already in terms of its little microcosm, which means that this could stop and go to the upside. So the reason why this is significant is because trend is your friend, and also trend cannot be your friend. So what I would like from this particular time frame is to get absolute clarity on it, and then open up positions in line with that, because when you trade in trend, if you enter late and exit early, you're still profitable. And being profitable is better than 95% of what traders can achieve. So, is it worth it to kind of chase the choppy conditions? No, bro, save your energy.
Save your energy, yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is just the signs to see whether or not this is going to head over. And for me, it's kind of not really a great idea to open up a trade as we're going into the weekend, and generally that's kind of lowered liquidity. So with that said, not a great day to open up positions from the higher time frames. And for those reasons, now that we've got a kind of conflict in energy, so that's pushing up, and then that's pushing down, it's not necessarily too easy to lean into confidence here. If I had to go in one direction, I would say it's down overall. But just looking at the time, it's about 25 minutes before New York Open Bell. And New York Open Bell is basically like a Call of Duty map multiplayer. And so it's like everyone is like waiting for the tournament to begin.
Yeah.
And at New York Open Ball, all the multiplayers rush the map, and then they shoot and they get their points and whatever the case would be. It's the same thing as the New York Open Ball. It's it brings all the boys to the yard, and then you just see the markets just go in the same direction, or the lazy kind of action before that time gets made up in that time. And we can even watch the Dow Jones swing about. Dow Jones is for sure one of the maps that traders like to kind of go to. But it affects, S&P 500, it affects gold to a certain degree, it affects Bitcoin to a certain degree. So over here, like this build-up is quite stagnant, and then boom, then you just see the ordering of the things. So whilst I wait, because we've got 25 minutes there, I'm just going to build up my little system and then get ready for that, just in case it does see something that looks good. So what I'm doing here, let me just kind of make this a bit smaller, is so this is now really refined in the sense that the bells and whistles that I was once dependent on, like all of these geometrics and pretty things, I no longer need, as the cycle structure. So MTOPS is, wait, let me take it a step back. The market structure of MTOPS, so the M is what I need as an input, and then the time forecasting, the oscillator, price, spawn resistance, all of that is managed via the data on the back end, because what we're seeing on the front end is basically all math in any case. This is just math. And this is less than that.
Yeah.
Everything there is just math. So instead of having kind of all of that there, which is no longer necessary, I've got the AI managing all of that in the databases and the servers and the pipeline. So all I need to worry about for now is the market structure input. But again, because we live in the age of intelligent, non-linear calculations, because linear is like bots and algos, non-linear is where AIs get to think. Because we live in that environment, I can give it the training data of where it would kind of forecast, but instead of looking forward, it looks back and goes, well, according to this set of rules, this is the highest probability setup of the highs and lows according to that.
Oh, fucking wow.
So the next phase is to take what I'm about to do now and automate that. So what does that mean? That means that the input will be automated, the submission to the backend will be automated, the calculations and logic will be automated, the AI understanding of what happens next will be automated, the positions opening up into the exchange, as we're about to see, will be automated, and then it rinse repeats, because the front end, the input will be all right, trigger, dominoes, dominoes. And that's how you achieve freedom. No customers involved, no bosses, no meetings, no calls, no promises, no having to check your phone or whilst you're on vacation, or coming back to a whole bunch of stress, or living on other people's excuses. Oh, I'm sorry about the meeting, and I booked it, I forgot, and I don't have money right now. Ciao, thanks. Been there, bored. I've got my MBA to realize that I hate business administration. I did property seminars to realize I hate looking after leaks and fucking like that kind of stuff. So it's after getting to understand the system that most people have got to, surf and put a fake smile. Yeah, it's great to see you. It's not great to see that person.
No, I feel you.
Oh, how are the kids? You don't care.
You don't care.
You know what I mean,
really
dude?
Don't,
It's just this facade and, when are you going to pay the invoice? You know what I mean? It's just like, or when are you going to potentially become a customer?
Sure, it kind of gives me a little bit of goosebumps.
Yeah,
I've experienced a little bit of that, but it's kind of clear to see, at least for me, I guess, like, that's a lot of it is that facade where you're just kind of playing this game.
Yeah.
And I think it's very tiring, like, for everyone. Like, it's
draining on the soul.
Why are we doing it? Yeah.
Exactly. And what's worse than why we're doing it is why we're putting through young, creative, energized beings into uniform, into a desk, and make them feel bad for not conforming to stuff that you're never going to use in the real world. I've not used 80 to 90% of the stuff I learned in school. Maybe how to write and how to problem solve, but I mean, I'm sure there's better ways of, like, more interactive ways of doing that. But other than that, I don't care about anabatic, catabatic winds or what happened. Bro, like,
I don't know what that means.
You know what I'm saying? Like, sitting there in geography, okay, that's a dolerite sill, okay, cool, that's a cumulonimbus, so what? So anyway, etc. I did sciences, I did vector, what a waste of money and time. And stress, bro, like
Ooh, yeah.
Unnecessary stress. Anyway, so that's the whole mechanism is just to train factory workers to get onto the production line, be it I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, who cares? And the reason why that's significant is so that the government can receive their PAYE, getting that tax. All right, cool. Thanks, workers. Thanks for your, like, you work for free half the year, and just give the rest to us. And then we'll layer on your item tax, so you pay 15% of the checkout every time on top of your income tax, and you got solar panels, we'll tax you for that. Water, it's everywhere, dude. And
It's everywhere.
it's awful, and it's just such a bad thing. So this, for example, can be replicated because it's code and it's individual, and this is all running off my local, other than getting the data feed coming in and just going through some cloud stuff. This I can put this on the dark web. I could put this on a Raspberry Pi and a Thai cafe with a LAN connection, and it just runs. And so, like, once this is in operation, to try and shoot it down, like if you're like a greedy government from South Africa or something, yeah, cool, be greedy and do your thing, but Mauritius is firing off. You've got, you know what I mean? It's replicated. And the common question is, like, what if if this is so awesome and super successful, what if all the markets run off of this? Like, will there be any money to go around? And the answer is yes, bro, because different people, like, there is no global agreement on anything.
Yeah, like, just the assumption that it would end up being run entirely by systems like this in itself is not something that you could. Who knows? It might just be like normal still, like in a few years, you know.
Well, BlackRock is they're not going to give up their quantitative stuff. Like, there's always going to be There's always going to be someone on the other side doing their thing. If it's a HFT, a high frequency trading thing, or if it's people or moms and pops putting their money in, or if it's companies. GameStop, right? You know what I mean? Like, YouTubers, they got their own crazy ideas, or decentralized, and we got on book and then off shelf and P2P. So, like, it's not all going to be one, and that's great because something like this is future proofed. Why is it future proofed? Because it's been there before markets began. What I'm trying to say is it was there before Bitcoin. It was there before computers. It's here to stay. As long as BlackRock's got trillions in this arena, it's never going to dissolve. It's not like investing in NFTs or yo-yos or scooters. You're like, hey, it's in season and it's gone. Markets are always going to be there.
Yeah.
And people are always going to buy and sell, and it's because the laws of energy and that sort of thing are going to ensure that it keeps on moving. Like, it can't be stagnant and not for long.
Can't.
So it's future proofed, and there's never going to be one agreement on one system.
Yeah.
So there'll always be movement of money to be made.
Yeah, like my system versus your system.
Certainly.
People like, no, my system.
Exactly.
You know? So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's more likely.
So that's why I gave up corporates, I gave up side businesses, I gave up the fun businesses, and I just went all in on this, and it's been an 8-year marathon.
Wow.
So
What sort of business did you do before this? Like, what sort of areas?
In parallel to my studies, I was told by all my family that I need to get a salary. I said, no, guys, I want to be a entrepreneur. What about dental? What about so I let go of, like, 18-year-old, 19-year-old just wanting to start a business, and then I got a job, and that kind of sucked a lot out of me, because then I became into that silo of making other people money.
Yeah.
And I danced there for a while, I'd say about a decade. And climbed many ladders. I got to experience a lot of small businesses, moms and pops businesses, medium guys with a few branches in other places, and then into the corporates. And I think the corporates sucked me up for a while because you were more anonymous. Where, like, the moms and pops, it was more high pressure. To, like, all right, are you performing? With the big organizations, they were like, well, if you give it 3 years, you can blah 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 blah.
Bigger machine kind of, right?
Bigger machine stuff. So I enjoyed the big salaries and all that kind of thing for a while. But there was just this emptiness that kind of chipped away at me every board meeting and every reports and what's your quarterly, and I was like, this sucks. Yeah, hated it, dude. But yeah, then I learned the love of music like as a teenager, but didn't have the patience to create songs or to play instruments myself. So that's where I decided to play like just music for other people. And then I got that right, and then there was like thousands of people. So I had parallel incomes along there and had some fun with that as well. So like quite serious during the day, corporate, and then burn whatever energy I had left on the weekends and just entertain, and that was fun. And then it came to kind of like a pinnacle in 2017 where after doing seminars and paid courses and like, how do I get passive income? Is it through drop shipping, or is it a YouTube influencer, or is it affiliate marketing? I nailed it down to my stable corporate high-paying job, and I was sitting like at the head offices of mega corporates, Woolworths, Foschini groups. Like it got to a point where like some of the richest setups in the family, in the country, were people I was interacting with. But even then, like I just saw the guys were there at 7 and then they got home at 6 and there was traffic, and I was like, you guys aren't having a good time and you're at the top.
Yeah. That's scary actually. When you see that eventually, it's like, oh, it's more of the same.
It's just that, plus maybe you get some more freedom, less pressure because you can delegate the pressure. But you're still paying tax. You're still doing all this stuff. So as I said, that sucks. And then from the entertainment side, I was DJing for places like Take A Lot. So they'll have like their so they obviously would put together like Rocking Daisies and mega festivals. So they had the pick of whoever to entertain, and they're like, you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I got to like really be on the cityscapes and just DJ celebrity like weddings and pretty awesome events and that kind of stuff. And in the Western Cape, Cape Town, there's a lot of that. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is the high life, and billionaires and pool parties and da. And
wow.
Yeah.
So you kind of experienced both sides, I feel like, of whatever
and then
that is.
Also, I had, and in town, I had the City Bowl, a Airbnb for 2 or 3 years. And I just literally had people around the world, like back to back, wanting to come and save me, because I made the rookie era per se of doing a 2-minute video of like, this is where you're gonna stay. I'm single. I know the place back and forward. I've got a high energy. I love meeting people from around the world. Choose me, dude. And all these people ended up being single woman. Like, hey, I'm like, better go to gym with my abs going. So yeah, so I had the Airbnb, and I was like, so there was a whole social life, and then the weekends would be like this high status fun event, and then during the week it was just like go, and just this and that, and we get
wow.
2017, I saw myself, and as I had all this disposable income coming in, but as much as was coming in, I was just burning to kind of keep up with the pace of Cosmopolitan. And there's another concert, and then there's another event, and then there's another beautiful bottle of tequila that's now premium and better than the one before, and it's just Wow. So yeah, I was just like, I landed up in Gardens Medic Center, self-admitted, on a Friday night. I was just like having panic attacks at 11 o'clock because my body just couldn't keep up anymore. And so I was like, okay, something's got to change. And then I had the drips and whatever the case would be, and I was like, well, okay, I need to slow down. But how do you slow down? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once you got the taste for good. So then I didn't get my lesson from that, and I continued at that time I was in finance, and I was getting to understand all the different financial setups of like all the different businesses, and the inputs, the outputs, and how they're surviving, what did they do, and it was very interesting. A lot of people aren't as well off as they appear to be.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah.
When you get to look up their skirt and you get to see the numbers, it gets a little bit concerning, because you guys are over leveraged. It just takes a small storm, and you hit, and you close your doors. So and a lot of people were running in that direction, and those who weren't had affiliates like family, like the kind of the Jewish people or the Muslim people and that kind of stuff. Like they had this kind of this setup, which isn't always available for like individual kind of guys who want to go, like you're on your own. Your competitors want to take you down, and all that kind of stuff. And then that's before the regulators come in and like, oh, you're doing everything right. So it's hard to keep positive, I suppose. But the guys were driving the Mercedes and the sports cars, and like they put on a good front and the good clothes and everything. Like, oh, my business is great because I look great and all that kind of thing. And I got lost in that for a while. And there was this mini series called, or just TV series called Suits at the time. This is Harvey Specter character, and I was like, yes. So I downloaded like the albums, and that was always playing when I had visitors over, and you know what I mean. And there was like suave, and like in the City Bowl, like you got access to really good hairstylists who would go on set and did film and stuff. The guys who do film hairstyle trump any barber, any hair salon that exists with bro. Like these guys
Is it super expensive?
Scientists. It's all relative. That's what I was saying. I was just burning the disposal. Like I was like working hard, and then they would go. It's like a really good haircut. So the answer is
cool,
yes.
Though. Yeah. I mean,
And you walk around, and then like the feelings there, but then
different.
So So that was great, but then it was just burnout was inevitable. And then my stepfather passed away in 2017, and then he was kind of the richest guy in the graveyard in the sense that the Mercedes and the choppers and the dress and the boats, everything was there, but he wasn't. And it was just like, it was so weird because like I could just go and be like, take the keys, which I wouldn't normally be able to do, and like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go, you take the boat out or whatever. And it's not like a condition, blah, blah, blah. I could just do it because he was gone. And it was those kind of things. It was just like, oh my God, bro. Like, he worked 10 days on, 2 days off. And like in his like 50s, 60s. So just sitting there. And like all these things are back home. And he's at power stations coding software engineering for like the turbines and stuff. And then he'll enjoy it, but also kind of tired from the long time. He needed to get his rest, and he's back to work. And then after he went, bro, I just lay there in bed and I just thought, what am I doing? Like, who cares about my car keys? Who cares about my address?
Eerie, kind of.
The only person who cares is me.
Yeah.
You go to a party, they forget your name by the time you've left their party. Yeah. Everything is so transactional. And sure, you get to like, whatever status makes self, no one else cares. They care about themselves.
Yes.
They care about what they're about. So I came to the realization that having this corporate job is not a long-term win. Having these entertainment things where my ego is just being blasted is not a long-term win, because with the events came the drinking. I was like, shots, So that wasn't healthy, and I literally went to Medicare. And then the last one, then this whole like international kind of people from around the world, and just like dazzling them and going to the top restaurants and having fun on the sunrise, sunset missions. It was just exhausting, and eventually I just sat and I thought, this is unfulfilling, and this is other people's dreams. Like.
Yeah. It's weird.
People want this. They dream about this.
Yeah.
I'm here now. And then I came to realize that this trap that I'm in is satisfying one thing, and that's I'm satisfying customers. And I realized that as long as you have a customer, you're not free. And that was across. That was the Airbnb. Again, like it could be drop shipping, it could be influencing, it could be marketing, affiliation, it could be pyramid schemes, it could be what. As long as there's a customer involved, no matter what industry you're in, factoring, farming, you got to get there to work on Monday, one way or another. Answer a call. Sorry guys, I've got this Zoom meeting, whatever. One way or another. And I sat there like just. in a state of surrender to the universe, just like waking up. Like I said to myself, for the next 21 days, I'm going to ask myself one question, and that is, how do I acquire freedom?
That's a good question.
Bro, and I sat there and I used to ask it in the morning. I used to ask you while I was running. I used to ask you like the last thing I went tonight, before I went to sleep. And there was nothing for the first 10 days. And then I started seeing this.
That's a tough question. I mean,
Yeah.
10 days, not a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Give us time. So, it's just life changing. So, and then my friend of mine brought up this thing, blah blah blah, Bitcoin. I was like, whatever, is that, I don't know, Silk Road kind of drugs? I don't know, bro. I'm not into like dark web stuff. Cool. Then my housemate was like, Bitcoin. I was like, bro, why is everyone talking about this thing now? Like, no one's talking about this before. And then so like I started to check what it was about. I did some research, and I just felt this hook pulled me straight in. I was like, whoa, decentralized banking.
Whoa, shit.
International transfers. Yeah,
there's definitely a form of freedom, I would say. It's like what blockchain can provide. I mean,
blockchain,
it's adjacent to freedom, it feels like.
Totally. Yeah. It's kind of ungoverned. Yeah. There's no one, it's not centralized. There's computers across the world, mining farms, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, in comparison to like centralized banking and all that kind of stuff, it's a different conversation.
Absolutely.
So I got into it for that. And then I realized like maybe getting into this for blockchain was a bit of a joke, because how much blockchain do I use other than sending money back and forth? But not even that often. Like I don't buy my groceries with blockchain. Like I get paid in blockchain instead of going like through and clearance and, oh, can you fill out this form? No. So I don't use blockchain for supply chain. I don't use blockchain for my inventory management. I don't use blockchain for my software or a calling. I don't use it. And I thought, well, I'm not really into that facade of this whole blockchain thing anymore, because that was a bit fad for me. It was like flyover. What am I here to do? And then I continued to think about it. And I looked at what is king, and this is off of like different influences. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, said cash isn't king, cash flow is king. And I realized like I can keep on working a day job and putting whatever I have left into, and live like a very humble Mormon life and not go out. I just never saw that happening. I was like, imagine that.
Especially not given what you were used to. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Day and night stuff.
You go there and you sit there and you read a book or what, you know what I mean? Like, no, bro, your mates are out and having a good time. So it was never going to work out that way. So sure, I could have like put my savings into Bitcoin and kept on buying more Bitcoin. And I'm sure I'd be pretty well off now. But the life that I would have had was super conservative, saying no all the time, just so that my older self can benefit. Yeah. So I'm like, no, bro, I want to live. So I put my time, effort, and energy into the avenue of Bitcoin, and then it helped me understand from technical analysis, fundamental analysis, all the different analysis, that for the large part, the financial industry in this regard are headless chickens.
Yeah.
Bro, it's a blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
The guys are sad. Once you get past the jargon and the barrier of entry and that kind of stuff, and like you get into the stuff underneath, you start to see it's a big hoax, bro. Like I know there's movies made of it, like The Big Short and that kind of stuff.
It's one of my favorite movies,
bro. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's so good.
I will watch it
so
again and again.
Yeah.
And you watch guys like that kind of speak to us about this and try to use Margot Robbie in the bath to kind of get our attention. It's a good way to fucking explain things. So like they try to get through to us that way, but it's just water over a duck's back. So once you enter the nitty-gritty and you sit there like tirelessly 14 hours a day, let's try this thing. And breaks. And it's like, okay, that's not the thing. Let's try this thing. And like you just keep going at an obsessive rate. That's when you get to like pull back the veil and go, what a joke. This sucks. And it was after the first 18 months of going, what a joke, this sucks, paid courses, all that stuff, that I start to go like beyond normal thinking, and that's to lean into metaphysics and into quantum stuff. And there's this guy called Nassim Haramein, which I think is Einstein reincarnated.
Yeah?
This guy is next.
Note. I'm going to make a note.
Great
Sorry,
idea, yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, let me get the exact spelling for you. Yeah, jump, go hard with this oak. Haramein. There we go.
Okay.
So, fields, quantum entanglement,
Sick.
the whole, it's like, because people talk about oneness and they talk about butterfly effect and that kind of stuff. And they're like, how does this all come together? And when you understand what he teaches, it's like, okay, this is possible. And that's all I needed, because I already got into that stuff and like meditating and universal principles and stuff, and energy and electromagnetism and energy, frequency and vibration, and then Tesla's work and that kind of stuff. And I was just like absorbing like all of this stuff. And then I thought, well, I don't just want to have this knowledge. I want to like make practical.
Bring it
into something I can use.
Yeah.
So this is where I got into this line of thinking about cycles. What happens 4 times a year? Well, we got 4 seasons. Okay, cool. So there's quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Now, how do we kind of differentiate what happens between these? Well, there's going to be a sequence of events. Okay, what determines that sequence of events? So it's just sort of like rabbit hole. And it's like, if then plus this, but you've got to keep the macro, and then blah, 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 blah. So it was through that that I really got to understand the principles of time and energy, and this is normally works. I'm not sure. Maybe there's just some syntax thing. Anyway, so I'm surprised it's not operating. Let me just have another rebuild.
Yeah, it's interesting if you think about like time and energy, like time plus, not just like stupidly saying like time and energy together creates sequences and patterns. It's kind of like different expressions in it.
It is.
It's interesting, kind of the way I imagine everything you mentioned now about the different time frames, juxtaposed on like how people go about their day, which is another sort of sequence.
Yeah.
And then like seasonal sequences, but also like the sequence of how the Earth travels in the universe, around the sun, the moon. It's like all. Even
ones like if you look at like the segments in a person's life, there is that energy up front. So that's the summer. Then it's like the kind of settle down part, which is the winter, and like there's just the seasons of life where it's just like blooming, and then other times it's like introspect, and when it sometimes gets really cold and like really long nights, and that's some people go through divorces or whatever, and like they reinvent themselves. So it's kind of everywhere. And like once you get to see the patterning, like what I actually wanted to do. I'm still building. Was to. I don't know how I was going to do it. I don't really want to wear like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, but I actually wanted to monitor my energy levels and see if I can forecast how I'm going to feel tomorrow based on.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So I mean, if it keeps on showing up in so many different places, then why wouldn't it happen in your own life like that?
It's just like hard to predict it, as you think about the body, there's so many different things happening,
It's the same thing with...
But it is, you're right.
With markets, right. People have different interpretations, different amounts of money, different time zones, different, strategies. And then there's like, from the people, there's people taking action, and then there's like the crowd who's just not taking action.
That's an interesting thing. That's a very interesting just thing to think about. Like,
So that becomes a field of intent, a field of fear, a field of like all the different stuff, and that then becomes potential energy, and what you'll see is that like there'll be periods of non-action and then hyper-action. So intent then becomes FOMO. So where the guys are like waiting back, they'll get in. So like it's all there. If it's dormant or if it's active, it's all there. So that's the idea behind it. And so when it comes to like this environment, which typically works, I don't know. It's obviously something to do with the tools or manja. There is this very cool way then that it all comes together here. So you got, I think I showed you earlier, like the move towards and move away. So with the like an Apple Watch or something, like beginning to understand what has been, that'll be documented, and it's all raw numbers. It's all so the shapes and the colors are nice for our eyes, but behind the scenes it's just information. So once that information goes through processes of for example, what the trading has gone through, then that will be able to predict certain things, I think. Because if we're using universal principles of this point and that point plus that point equals that point, why wouldn't it work for a body as well?
Yeah, no.
Or a weather
absolutely.
system, or...
It's just, I mean, it's big brain stuff, you know?
Yeah. Exactly, dude. It takes
totally very big brain stuff.
a lot of stuff.
It's fascinating for sure. What sort of, could you give examples of sort of some universal principles you believe in?
Yeah.
Like,
I say that's a great question. So there's something here called the Ganzilla. So W.D. Gann, in my opinion, is one of the best traders of all time. So this is how I came to the understanding of numerology and astro trading, because in this software, what I came to realize is that the videos...
Oh, yeah.
So over here, this information, I wonder if I don't know, probably setting myself up to fail here, but maybe I can get it running. Because this is like a Windows shell thing, so I can run Windows things, and they only made it for Windows, unfortunately. Yeah, so that sucks. No luck there. So Ganzilla basically, I would love to have shown you in the software, but gives you a package of all of the alignments of where the planets are, time of year, in their aspects, and you can refactor it to how big or how small you want it to be, just similar to the charts I just showed you. So I brought it down to like an hour-to-hour basis, and I would literally see what would come in. Let's say, for example, Mars would come in to the minute. As soon as Mars enters that chart, again, it's offline, it's pre-written, you'll see that the price is to the minute. 3.5 hours later, you can go back and forth because it's all saved offline data, not connected to the internet. The Mars would leave, for example, price would turn around and go to the backside. Then there would be this quincunx and this semi-sec square and all this kind of stuff. Like that's
this stuff's complicated.
It's layered, and that's why I had to like wash away the complication to get something that's this plus that equals this. Because in day trading, I don't want to spend the first 4 hours learning about what the cosmos is trying to say and then missed all the price action. So basically the strategy I'm working with now is this simplified in a manageable way. And so by, again, the key point being it offline and the data preset because of the cycles and orbits and the correspondence of that kind of stuff. Yes. What I learned, to go back to your question, is that the unit, the oneness, like for example over here, is energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything has its own location. So the difference of the ball being down there and the ball being up here is that it's it's reassigned time and space of if time was stagnant, there would be no movement, no breathing, no moving. So time and space, and how it gets time and space and location is the electromagnetic signature. So that's why like my toes on my foot and not on my face and that kind of stuff. So then I thought, all right, electromagnetism is the identification of physicality. What then is the influence and governance of electromagnetism, energy, frequency, and vibration? And I looked at just very light. I think I was watching an Einstein series, and they're talking about space time. They were saying like the weight of the weight of a planet energetically versus the weight of an apple is very different from a space. And the magnetic pull inside a planet, for example, is a lot stronger than that of a beach ball.
Of course.
And the iron core and all that kind of conductors and stuff. And then I stopped thinking as small as man, going like, well, later on I might see my friends and drive around to the beach and that's my world. I started like zooming out and going, energetically speaking, what's governing our planet? Is it only our planet? Is it my boss? Is it Friday afternoon? Is it...
Fuck no.
No, you know what I mean? It's what's making the weather move? What's making the position of the planet around? And the numerology is insane. Like when you see the distance between the Earth and the Sun, and if the Earth was a little bit off, all of that kind of stuff. Fucked. So numerology is just like the pinpoint accuracy of the distance between here and the moon, and everything comes together. It's like wild. So then I got lost in those rabbit holes, brought those together.
Sure, yeah.
And then I saw who we got in our system, and no one really talks about it. Like you don't just go to the shops like, hey Fred, hey, how are you? Oh, good. Sport cool, yeah. Car cool, weather cool.
Meetings.
No one goes like, yeah, meetings. Oh, our meetings. You know what I mean? I'm late. Let me just get this text message. Yeah. No one goes like, Jupiter. Jupiter is 318 times the size of this planet, as an example. So if you look at this planet and you look at Jupiter, you go, well, surely we should be keeping track of what that bro is up to, because if he is that influential in the solar system's weight and time and space, then surely there's going to be a connection of its influence and our sun, or not. There's periods where like everyone's just kind of like lank-chilled. Then there's periods where it's so frantic. Then there's wars kicking off, and then there's this and that, and there's and like what's really running that whole thing?
Do you know what this is to me? It reminds me of if you look into sort of like ancient Egypt, how it seems as though they were very much knowing what was going on above us, and then there's like our solar system, but then they were also looking at the precession of how our solar system was moving, right? The precession of the equinox, like 27,000 year.
Totally.
So it's not just the solar system, but then now the solar, and it just keeps kind of going.
Yeah, it's a ring on a ring on a ring on a ring.
Yeah.
And so there's some information on on YouTube that just like is mind blowing. If you look, even Joe Rogan's just like, bro, what is this?
Yeah.
Because there's like a mega sun, and then like Earth compared to like the mega sun is just like this tiny little speck, and then like our sun is actually a tiny speck. Yeah. Earth is like not even visible. So then you go and like you sit in traffic and someone's trying to cut in and you get like upset. You're like, oh no, and you're like, what is all of this shit? It's absolutely irrespective to what's really going on. Yeah. So when I like dissolved the ego and I dissolved myself and I just became a part of like the oneness in the unified field and all these kind of like the Dr. Joe Dispenza and all these guys, they're like, the field. And like once I became like labelless and like identityless and just part of the field and just surrendered into it, then the surf analogy really stood out. Like what makes a good day surfing? What makes a day not worth going? And I stayed in St. Francis for a while, and J Bay was there, and I was just sit on J Bay and like surfers would be like just chilling on the bank, just like, come on,
waiting.
Yeah, they're not in the water like dodging the rocks and like fighting off a shark. Like the whole day, like they would be patient and wait for the good. And I was like, well, what about if that's the case, then what about traders? Like, why can't traders feel the same way? Why does everyone have to get in the whole time and such? So, and that's where I came to again. Like then all of these sort of things kind of like got reinforced. The cycles, the building periods, the changing periods, and like the support and resistance. Like if you look at the like these lines over here. And you take away like this like messy bit over here, which is people are trying to fight. I think that's the open ball. If you look at the timing, so as I said, at 3:30,
Yes.
so that's where the players got into the same map. These guys had an idea. These guys had a different idea. There's a bit of debacle, but what won? What was the overall thing? That was the support and resistance. And the support and resistance happened because of the different places in which the planets are pulling the energy. And that's going to supersede any individual in Japan, in Mumbai, in New York. And so the real question is, how do we ride these waves? You know, those long, beautiful super tubes instead of just shore break. And enjoy the profit building instead of like jumping out early and like taking too small of a profit or freaking out and because there was a small loss. Like maybe over here, someone thought it was going to go up. They got into a long position, it went in the opposite direction.
Oh, and they were like, no.
Panicking.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't handle this. And then, I mean, for us, it's just like looks like candles over here. But you see how long it takes. This is a 30-second chart. How long it takes for the 30-second chart to get a new candle. There's so many thoughts and emotions that can happen before the next candle comes in.
Crazy.
Let alone waiting the right amount of time to get in where they should close and open. So again, this is why I've got the intelligent ordering system where it waits to get in, waits to get out. But the most important part is I don't really care what happens in between, because all I need to do is conveniently click one of these basic looking buttons. It runs all the process and logic on the back end. And from my aspect, I don't really care much, because even if it's not perfect or even if it gets it wrong, I've got the next opportunity, the next opportunity, the next opportunity, the next opportunity, multiple times a day, where that negative impact is now offset by all the additionals. And does it need to be perfect? No. Does it need to be consistent? Relatively, because it's about exponential growth. There's a buzz term, exponential gains, basically. And that's, yeah. And then it becomes that curve instead of like linear, and where guys get like overly fixated about that one thing working out. You know, it works out, doesn't work out, and you can have all the patience and all that kind of stuff, but you know, things just sometimes don't work out, and you've lost a week. Whereas over here, that exponential building of instead of getting that one $350 profit, it was $120 here. Well, we can just go back to that image I showed earlier. So this was yesterday. So yeah, sure, those didn't work out, no problem. Beta testing, all good. But that worked out, that worked out, that worked out, that worked out, that worked out. And you start getting that bell curve just going into the upside. And then having that automated so that you don't have to worry about it, but based on universal energetic stuff, so we don't get washed around by rubbish like this. The human psyche no longer needs to be this big threat. And and let the systems take on the burden and let the humans live. So this is the mechanism to freedom, bro. This is
this is like a beautiful application of what AI can do actually for people. Like, okay, I've got my income sorted, now I can just go like do whatever, you know, and like literally. People
don't realize what it takes to be financially free. So
no, that's why no one is, you know, like, well, very little people are. I mean,
absolutely, but not. So yes, so that's thinking as well, but also, but no, let me restructure what I say there. People don't realize what financial freedom actually is and what it takes to get there from a numbers aspect.
The numerical value.
The numerical value.
I get you.
So let's say, for example, maybe it's $5,000. So $5,000 maybe is a lot in South Africa. So yeah.
Sounds like a lot.
So it's about 100,000 rand. So maybe a good household is living off $5,000 a month. So times by 12 is $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money to make, right? So what I'm trying to say is that over here, what I'm working with is a $200,000 account. So let's say, for example, that account. Okay, let's work with the numbers. So I got $200,000, as you saw over there, being managed by the AI stuff. If I increase that $200,000 by 10% per month, that will be $20,000. So if I do that for 3 months, that's the $60,000 that a person needs to be financially free for a year.
Holy shit, yeah.
So working for 3 months gives them 9 months, and now the narrative has changed.
Yeah.
But they're not even working because the AI is the one doing the thing.
Literally, you can't call that work.
Yeah. So
to speak, it's not. Yeah.
And that's just growing an account.
Yeah.
By 10%. And as we saw, at 1,500, and this is all just whatever numbers, times 5, so that's a week, times 4 weeks, so that's 30,000.
Wow.
So that's so at the win rate of yesterday, if that continues for 2 months, the rest of the year is free.
That's
and
crazy.
100,000 rand a month or $5,000 it's a good enough life. Like you can pay off your car. You
absolutely.
can buy some nice food. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? So that's 2 months of graft done by the AI.
Wow.
And that's not. And the reason I say 10%, that's not crazy numbers. It's not 100% growth or 80% or 50% growth. It's 10%. So yeah, that's the age we live in, bro. And going back to your points, that's what AI can achieve now. And the reason why I'm putting my obsession into this is because it's future-proofed. Markets aren't going anywhere. AI are smart enough now to write essays, and it's getting crazy.
It really is.
So putting it all together based on universal movements and having it run into practical market application means freedom's attainable.
Is that sort of what's like your I wouldn't say end goal, or your sort of your great vision, or like where do you hope to kind of end up with this? Is it more for yourself, or like do you want to change everything kind of on a large scale, or if that makes sense?
So for me, I don't necessarily, because I went through the schooling system, I went through college, I went through corporate, I rubbed shoulders with billionaires, pool parties, after parties,
we won't talk about those.
All the stuff that we don't talk about, and waking up just like with a headache, and then just like espresso, and then whatever in the evening, and then it happening again, like. Because I've seen that side of life and chased the latest iPhone, or you know what I mean, like all that kind of stuff, I realized that it's just a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, my recommendation for this, or my ideal for this, is to take away a life of obligation, and through the necessity of having to pay bills and trying to survive, people will then come to a place of peace, contentment, creativity and expansion, rather than trying to climb the corporate, trying to like be like the crab bucket where all the crabs pull each other down. So the crab's at the top, and then that crab gets pulled down. Drop that thing, and once you fix that, once you go from a place of like, Andre doesn't need to get up unless he wants to get up, you'll go, you know what? Why not be incredible today? Why not be expansive? Why not lift someone else up? Why not like maybe something like this can kind of boost your ego for 3 months, and it's just spending sprees and you know, all that kind of stuff you wanted.
Get
and
it
then
out.
you fill the cupboards, you renovate, you do your thing, and you go, well, is that all there is? Am I fulfilled?
Which, sorry to interrupt you, but it seems, I mean, there's a lot of examples of like ultimate wealth where people have like all the money and then
No fulfillment.
like that must be very frightening. I imagine.
Bro, the suicide,
easy.
drug addictions, rehab, it's all over. Britney Spears, and you name it, bro. Like, it's just a Robin Williams. Like, he can make the world happy, but not himself, you know? So, and that's when you don't have that level of fulfillment, it really becomes a place of, oh shit. And people only get there at 63.
Literally, yeah, when it's like late in the game. You know?
They've saved, they kept humble, they kept this, and then their car breaks down, and the money went to that, and they're back at the start, and then they buy a little bit of, like a house with another room, or a bit of a bigger garden, and then the pool has a big leak, and then they say, like, it's just like this, and then 63 happens, if they're lucky. Nowadays,
so
who knows?
Like that, you know,
Yeah.
it goes fast.
And then they get to the place of, let's travel the world, and they travel to a few places, but then they like the old folk. Like, oh, do you need a hand? Like, no, bro, I worked my whole life to enjoy this. Like, let's like hang out. Like, I worked my whole life. And then the 20 and 30-year-olds, like digital nomads and all this kind of stuff, they're like, yeah, but you're like my grandparents' age. So you go first, and then, you know, like get to bed early. And you're like, bro, well, fuck, okay, well, maybe I do want to get to bed early because I'm old as fuck now. So like, so that sucks. Versus like a life of going, well, okay, I've had my ego scratched. Now what? I've got two options. I can be about me, I, me. But like, you know, this suffering.
It's also not gonna last. It's like it's gonna end. That will end for sure. I think like eventually.
Totally.
Yeah.
I call it suffering. So like suffering, and it's like, you know, and then you know, another girlfriend goes by, whatever, and you're like, I'm on this loop. Like, and then people wake up and they go, well, okay, suffering sucks. Why not be about soul? Like, why not be expansive? Why not be radiant? And when we start having a community of radiant people, then it's art and creativity and food and music.
Build the pyramids.
But you don't, yeah, exactly, bro. You don't need drugs then. Yeah. It's not about outfits and what that person thinks. It's more about how did I positively impact this environment? If they want to, unless they, because when you get to rest and you're just like nourished, and you wake up and it's just like,
and you don't have to. Sorry again to interrupt.
Yeah,
you,
totally.
You wake up, you're refreshed, but you don't have to like work the whole day to just survive. You know.
Totally.
Because then that's all you have.
Then you bring beauty. Then things change, and then the kids go, kindness is cool. I'll be kind.
Patience is cool. Like,
not be called immature about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, you're just childish.
Yeah.
You know, 25-year-old who wants to be joyful and roll in the grass with a dog. Yeah. Oh, you're just childish. Screw that, dude. Like, it comes to like the emotional connection and bond where it can have like beautiful conversations without just boring shit.
Yeah.
Or what's happening in the news? Oh, are you Ukraine or are you? No, bro, shut up. You know what I mean? Let's just skip to the end and let's do what matters.
Yeah.
Enriching the earth, and undoing like this iron net that's holding a planet into a disposition, and that's where where the shift can start to happen. And ideally, to answer your question again, the what I would love for the money made from this, like once it starts to like, another thing I forgot to mention is that not only can we replicate this into like certain like things, it's scalable across all markets.
Right.
So like once, like, it's not there yet, it's getting there. Once the results are consistent, reliable, and whatever, then I don't need warehouses. It's copy paste, copy paste, countries, da 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 da. So it then becomes like this whole thing. So once money is available, and it's automated, and it's just and other kind of thing, and it doesn't have to be slow, because not all markets react in the same time, the same part of the day, hardly ever actually. So you can have this segment of open bells kind of bucketing in, and then the next time zone opens, that makes its bucket.
Right.
So as the sun is waking up different time zones, there's this ching 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 ching. So like a day of one market activity is not the same anymore. You've got the world's market activity.
Right.
So if that gets siphoned into project work, what I would love to do is put on a hero cape and just go with money power, but in the other direction. And it's like, right, these lawyers say that your offshore drilling can't happen because the environmental impacts didn't go through, and you can't buy me off, and you can't screw me over. This is wrong. I don't want your drills disturbing the ocean life. Piss off. You know what I mean? Like that's the game, bro.
That's
like
pretty epic.
There's a company called MTO, which is the guys who like ripped the indigenous forest out, and they put pine trees in.
Fucking soy or something.
Yeah, something like that, bro. And I want to go there and just say, like, sorry, gasoline and match. I've just bought this property, off.
Nah.
And just fight for indigenous, bro. And like the Khoisan, like, and just, you know what I mean? Just like do it nicely, not like land grab and killing and force. Just you know, it's plants first, animals second, humans somewhere in between, like somewhere along there, and then prioritize those without a voice, because for profit, expansion, golf course, leisure,
it's the same bullshit.
It's cancer,
like,
bro.
Been happening. Yeah.
It's like Joe Rogan said it so well, and I'm bringing it up a lot, but like
fighter, man. He's like he's a pioneer for.
Do you know he only uses a kettlebell?
Yes.
A kettlebell, and one of my members actually built his ice bath. So
epic.
Yeah. So that's so what he said is that, I think one of the stand-ups was, if, for example, there's a hurricane or a big disaster, within the next 3 years, not only have the humans rebuilt, they've rebuilt bigger and deeper. So I mean, that's a cancer. That's a cancer cell, bro. If you think about it, like you try and like get it out your system, and it comes back. Yeah. So humans are the cancer of the planet, and they're just so like self-absorbed and all that kind of thing. So Elon Musk is trying his best. You know, tiny homes and a whole bunch of other stuff going on, and they're starting so we can have people less condensed into one area. But anyway. So there's population collapse and manja. So we're going to have like empty buildings and like infrastructures and pipes and things are just going to be left, and like the land's like, ugh. So like something's got to be doing what's right, like right action. Yeah. So to answer your question, bro, like right action is basically.
I like it.
Where I want us to land up.
Do you think that? I think there's an idea like this in like old Hindu texts, maybe, or in Hindu religion. The idea, I think it's like called yugas or something. It's also like a sine wave. I might be mistaken, but it's sort of the rise and fall of, if you will, awareness. Mm-hmm. So there's at the top you would have a golden age, would be maybe something like ancient Egypt, where like maybe they were all just chilling, like having a good time.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And then it goes down, and then at the bottom you have like war, famine, all the bad stuff,
rape and pillage.
And then it goes up again. Do you think maybe
it's upswing now? I'm hoping that this plugs into the natural energy of it.
I think it does. I would say that,
because I think people are like, well, what do we do if like there's a universal income or whatever? the thing is, universal income will never work, in my opinion, because you and I want different things. I've got a preference, you got a preference.
Yeah.
And as long as personal preference exists, then everyone having the same amount is just never going to be a long-term strategy. It's never going to pan out well. Because if you want to live in this house and I want to live in this house, who gets the house? So universal income is and communism is just a bad experiment. So it comes down to, I guess, personal karma and that kind of thing. And where this plays in, because not everyone needs the same amount. Like maybe you get church mouse person who just wants negative impact on the planet, and then you get fat cat who needs to get past his ego problems. And when all the kind of circulation happens and current it's like you got it. It's like the electrical current, like ocean movements. Like it's got to keep on moving.
Yeah.
And so when we got people saving less and stopping it and hoarding less, everyone's like, "I'm a billionaire." You're an arsehole.
Yeah, you're an arsehole.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like you're keeping currency stagnant. And that's a negative. And everyone's, I'm a property Mongol. And it's like, it's more stagnant stuff. That's not flowing. So once things flow more, and this is providing more flow, then the different intents, different perspective, a different ideas, different expansion. Like someone who's obsessed with bees will bring in, you know what I mean? And someone obsessed with something else will be like, well, I've got this passion and obsession that I need to explore. And no, it doesn't bring in a profit, and no,
it doesn't have to. Like, I mean, how many more ideas could you free up if you didn't have to create it to make profit for? Like, you could just, who knows what people would come up with, like the most craziest shit, because people are very smart, you know.
Well, you've got tens of friends who've got ideas that have died in the graveyard because like they're just like, well,
I have to make money.
Who's going to come to that show?
I gotta eat.
Who's going to wear that? You know what I mean? And exactly. Like, well, I've got this incredible instinct, yet to a point, I got to pay my insurance bill. Yeah. Okay, cool. What a waste of money that is. So, bro. So that's the end game, and that's why I'm working my head into the wall to try and get this going, and hopefully, we get there.
I mean, it seems like you're close.
Thanks, bro.
Do you feel like you're close?
It feels like.
Is it relative? I guess. Like.
I feel like I'm a cat. And someone's got one of those red lasers, and they're like, "You got it. You can always get it." Like, I got it. Nope. I got it. Nope. Like, for example, right now, just like this morning, I was able to put that tool down. No, it's not. So I gotta go back and like waste my time with that finicky stuff. And then, so yes, ideally, but you just never know what surprise is waiting for you, and then you got to learn the principles, then customize it to your application, and then I think I'm hoping soon. The most of it's there. With the predictions, the input is the variable, and once I got the pipeline refined and the platform just like squeaky clean, then I could just go, all right, cool, you've got this. Trigger, next, trigger, next. And and that's in peanut coladas, and the thing is, like, bro, like, I definitely want to get my hands dirty again and fix things, but how can one person completely immerse themselves knowing that they got a day job to get back to, or like there's an obligation?
You can't like fully go for it.
Yeah, bro, you can't fully commit to be present.
Like, it's actually such a foreign idea in my mind that. Like the idea of, wow, I can just do whatever today.
Totally.
Like I can just.
But like truly.
That's like a very foreign idea for, I think, most people probably. Yeah. You know, like.
Totally, and like they feel uncomfortable with it. Like, well,
that's another thing. It's like eventually you feel like, oh no, wait, I have to do something. Like I have to be productive.
Yeah.
It's very.
I have to.
Scary.
Scary. It is. It's like a mental issue, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bro, I think I'm gonna jump off and head on and check on in with the girls.
Yeah.
Thanks for